June 18th, 2026. The time is 9:10 a.m. And I titled this one, Charleston White Sounds Smart to Dumb People. And I say that from the standpoint of like fundamentally dumb, right? Like the surface level of thinking. Like you really don't have any kind of cultural substance, cultural awareness. My word, you don't really have a cultural GPS. You have zero real understanding. Because the thing I've always said and the thing I've always talked about is like, how is he able to say these basic things? Because that's all he does. He says a whole bunch of basic things, and people applaud him and pretend he says something profound, right? All he does is, and what was funny is I saw a brother that called him, and it's fitting. He said Charleston White is no more than a black Charlie Kirk. And when he said it, I was like, ooh, fitting. Because he's a black white supremacist, right? All of his talking points feed white supremacy. And when you buy into him and when you regurgitate him, he's getting you to regurgitate white supremacist talking points. What do I mean? Give you an example. What do I mean? Because notice how he behaves on a lot of these platforms. Because what do a lot of people do? They say, oh, he's playing a character. He's just a character. And in his mind, because he knows how to masterfully manipulate you. How many times have he said in his videos that he's controlling whatever he wants y'all to think? Right? So he told y'all from the start, I'm manipulating y'all. I'm masterfully manipulating y'all to make y'all think whatever I want y'all to think. So if I want y'all to think that I'm on your side, I'm gonna make you think that I'm on your side. And how do I do that? I just pretend I appeal and say a bunch of things that I think they want to hear. I think they want to hear him sound like he's going against the system, which he's really not, right? I think they want to hear him say some self-righteous stuff for males or females, which he could really care less about. But he's able to control the narrative, right? Everything, a lot of this stuff now is built on narratives. And the thing that he does, why I always say he sounds smart to dumb people, because like I said, pay attention when he's on podcasts like Aiden Ross. Pay attention when he's on those white dudes podcasts. He's not as brolic. But when he's on black people's podcasts, notice this is when you get that character that he speaks of. Right? You get that character, you get the confrontational. He's confrontational. And here's what, like I said, here's where he's spitting those white supremacist talking points. On top of him being confrontational, he's yelling and he's always saying, most of these whole ass niggas done been to jail. Most of y'all, he says a bunch of basic things. Never putting things into full contextual grounds of like what happened to the people. And the thing that pisses me off a lot of time with talking to these black conservatives, whatever that is, the thing that bothers me with talking to these people that don't understand what's going on is like they're not able to understand history. I'm just gonna say decade by decade. So what do I mean? Let's go back to because to prove that people are inherently criminal, to prove that in our case we're inherently violent, then that means we would have these consistent patterns, right? So that means you would see violent tendencies in the 30s. You would see violent tendencies towards each other now in the 40s. You would see violent tendencies in the 50s. And I'm talking about this black on black crime that he gets up here and he talks about. He says, my kind don't shoot up each other. My kind, and he tells you in his interviews, he tells you he came from a well-to-do neighborhood. So the crime that he got into, he didn't even necessarily have to get in there. He was just an MC Gusto. But what it is that he understood, because he also said something else. He said that if you want to go viral, and basically if you want to make money, being positive is not the way. And let me say that again, that basically if you want to make money on social media, being positive is not the way. Now, what do that got to do? And I'm going to get back to decade by decade. But what does that have to do with what I'm talking about? Just hang tight with me. That the reason for the out of pocket behavior that we currently see in 2026, the reason for the degenerate behavior that we have is because everybody is being caught up doing the same thing. So notice that there's a trend, especially when you're on TikTok, especially my people that be on TikTok. Notice that there's always a trend of like these bitter females that are decentering men. But most of their content centers men, right? Because confusion doesn't have to make sense, right? That's why it's called confusion, right? So notice that there's a bunch of dudes that's always bitter. Notice that if you want to go viral, and I see it happens all the time, notice that a lot of times the avenues to go viral is to speak against your own people, speak against your women, speak against your men. Hell, I've seen a lot of dudes in the sports field go viral just dogging Angel Reese. You can go viral dogging Caitlin Clark. These are avenues for dysfunction. And being a conditioned people, we love dysfunction. That's why people are more prone to respond to negative comments than somebody bigging them up and saying positive stuff. You ever notice that? Just pay attention to these habits. Pay attention to a person will gloss over your positive comment that you're giving them. But the moment you say something negative, they latch on to it. Why? Because negativity is like a parasite and it needs a host to feed on. So once you give it attention, it just spreads. It spreads. And once these people see that, hey, damn, if I want to go viral, all I got to do is say black women ain't shit. All I got to do is say black men ain't shit. All I have to do is say that I'm divesting from black men and I'm going to get me a white zaddy. You see what I'm saying? So this whole internet is like a beast in its own, right? And you really have to be on your stuff, like, and I can somewhat agree with that because like I said, just what I walked you through, I see it all the time. Hey, rise and shine. Appreciate the people that come in, right? I see it all the time. I see it all the time that people they love the negativity, right? It's just like what's the old saying that they would always tell ladies? What sells? Let me see if anybody knows. What sells? Sex sells, right? Sex sells. So when they tell ladies sex sells, if you want to make it, you gotta be a little bit more provocative. Be a little bit. I'm still gonna go back to that decade by decade. I haven't forgot that. I'm just reading the comments. Somebody said, I've always said the internet is a beast roaming and devouring, right? Programming. Exactly. And I'm just responding to the comments. Programming, right? So be a little bit provocative. You want to, build and see, because to be Americanized, not to be in America. But when I say, in my opinion, whose opinion? In my opinion, when I say to be Americanized, it is to be brainwashed. It is to be whitewashed. It is to be desensitized, right? So let's get back on the sex sales, what they tell ladies, right? If you want to make it, sex sells. And when she sells herself sexually, what's the first thing that they program a man to do? Is to devalue her because she pushes herself sexually. It doesn't make sense, right? They say, I don't want no 304. Somebody said, that's the same way we never actually get taught history, so we can't learn from mistakes. Mm. And see, what's so crazy about that is, like, now when they talk about, and I'm still gonna get back to the decade by decade. I haven't forgotten that talking point. Is that now when you see the whole CRT, the whole critical race theory, and nothing bothers me most. We still talking about Charleston White sounding smart to dumb people. That's the topic. Charleston White sounds smart to dumb people, right? And what's funny about that is, like, critical race theory. They don't even want you to look at this history or race in a critical manner. And the first thing they do to program our people is say, "I don't want my kids being taught hate." Well, you must don't know where you live. I don't want them to, and it always bothers me when they get some old tap dancing handkerchief head Negro male to sit up here and say, I don't want my babies being taught to hate white. Well, white hates you. America hates your black baby. So back to what I'm saying, my original point, that Charleston White appeals to people on their intellectual level. He appeals to people at their level of consciousness, right? I'm not saying dumb to insult you. It's like the person in the comments said that we never understand history, so we can't learn from our mistakes. So he sounds smart to a historically dumb people, a culturally dumb people, same thing in a sense. So what he does, because we like entertainment on the internet, Law 6 of 48 Laws of Power, court attention at any cost, right? So he essentially gets out here and he says, I'm just giving the people what they want. And this is the avenue that he uses to get you to understand or feel some level of sympathy or understanding as to why he has turned against the people. And young activists, I need y'all to understand this, that a lot of times, yes, putting your boots on the ground it'll seem like a waste of time. Because of what we're saying, we have to fix the minds of the people, right? Or you're just going to be going in circles and circles and circles and circles. And a lot of these black spaces or these pro-black groups are just a bunch of ideologies, right? It's just idealistic, right? And because we don't really figure out how to solve problems, that's one of the best things that culture is really supposed to do: solve problems, right? And what it does is, where he gets you to think that, or say, oh, I see why he says F the people now, is because he says, when I was talking positive, nobody paid me any attention. When I was out here doing what I was doing on a positive level, nobody paid me attention. And because he meets you at a fundamentally dumb level, that sounds smart to you. That's just like turning against males or females because you continuously have bad experiences. And they say, well, I'm tired of dealing with these 304s. I'm just gonna turn to a dog. So, like I always compare it, I say it's just like being in the Matrix. When the agent catches up and he turns you in, and you become an agent, he turns you into exactly what they are, right? He turns you into exactly what they are, right? So you behave and you think exactly like that. So, message to the young, to the youth, message to the young people that will protest. Don't let that get you. Even if you grow tired and even if you grow to a frustrating point, don't let it get you to the point where you turn on your people, right? So to further walk of why Charleston White sounds smart to dumb people, right? Is because now he's totally played on your levels of intelligence with the whole Carmelo Anthony ordeal, right? He totally flip flopped because originally when he first came out, he was against the Anthony family the entire time. But see, as a friend of mine said, he knew that he couldn't stay on that side. He couldn't stay on that side and continue to pimp black people. So he did a pivot. And his pivot made it seem like, oh, now I've turned the other leaf. I've said some inflammatory things toward Jeff Metcalf. I've said some inflammatory things against that side of the fence. And because of your fundamental dumbness and your lack of understanding, you say, oh, well, yeah, he's turned, a new leaf. Mm-mm. It was all a game. So as soon as that verdict came out, he says, yeah, I'm off the case. And I'm paraphrasing. And he goes into insulting Carmelo Anthony's father and talks about how weak he is and goes to talk about how he's not willing to do certain things. But I remember I put it on my other social media page. Do anybody remember when Charleston White got caught slipping in a barbershop? And a dude took his fist and went upside Charleston's head in the barbershop. And he did nothing. He did absolutely nothing. In fact, he stood behind a woman the whole time holding a broom, a mop, or something. Right? He stood behind a woman the entire time defending or being defended. But he wants you to think that he's this Billy Badass and he's a surprise fighter. He's a paid government agent, allegedly. But we can see the writing on the wall. But let's just put that out there for legal allegation, legality purposes, right? And the fact that my people continue to fall for the banana in the tailpipe with this black male misleadership. Because I can't even blame it on the women because there are no real black women that are leading. And at least, and it's not a group of people following them. This falls squarely on black males. Whether it's Umar Johnson, whether it's Tariq Nasheed, it all falls under black male misleadership. And the fact that he's able to not only antagonize, because that's the only thing he's done the entire time he's been out, is antagonize his own people. Weaponize the police against his own black youth, just like Karen's, right? He tells you he works with the police officers. And he got Boosie so shook that Boosie won't even speak his name. A lot of things Boosie will talk about. Boosie will be a straight up degenerate. He's responsible for a lot of young boys throwing their lives away, right? He's responsible for a lot of young black males throwing their lives away, but he always finds time to jump out there and stand on the ground and scream about LGBT things. Now, hold the line because I don't think that that lifestyle should be pushed on the youth. No, I'm not in agreement with that. But that seems to be the only thing that Boosie really understands that affects the youth in his world. But I figured out the key how to shut Boosie up. I think that Boosie is on a some MK Ultra type stuff, and you just have to. And Charleston White is his handler. I think Charleston White is his trigger word. And anybody ever seen like? And I see your dumb comments. I see your dumb racist comments. I just don't give y'all legitimacy, right? Um, hold on, make sure. And does anybody ever remember like in they would talk about MK Ultra and they would talk about because remember they had videos of like I think it was Al Roker, Cardi B, a lot of people, and whatever word that they would say, they would freeze up instantly. And it was also alleged that the baseball coach Tommy Lasorda alleged that he was a basically like a Manchurian MK Ultra person, and his trigger word was diamond, allegedly, right? And I figure that what makes Boosie shut down is just to mention Charleston White. Like I've never seen a dude cower up so much by just mentioning a dude's name, right? But a lot of these dudes, this is why they are allowed to run them up. Why? They're gonna keep us stagnant. Right? And what's crazy about it is Charleston White will continue to do the same thing. Just like right now, he's running around with a watermelon felon t-shirt on. And he's like, yeah, I'm in Texas with this. And because he knows he's the police, he feels like he's the baddest dog in the yard. And until that dude from that barbershop, I think that's who we need to really find. Who was that dude in the barbershop that put them fists upside Charleston's head? But we have to do a better job in the black community of being vigilant of these type of characters. We don't care about the lipless white people. Like they do stuff like they're being degenerates right now in my comments, just typing a whole bunch of nonsense. Because that's the psychopathic nature of them. So what you have to do is not give them any legitimacy. They're the bastard children of the universe that just needs attention. So they run around constantly just being disruptive. Because that's the only way that they feel relevant is to be disruptive toward black people or anybody that they don't see desirable. Um, but yes, what we have to do, we have to become better at being vigilant of these things. And I told y'all, I'm always appreciative of your stupidity because what you do is help push me out into the algorithm. Thank you. Right? So he's able to mock your people. Now, the line because what has to happen, we have to draw a line at some point. We have to draw a line at some point. One second. We have to draw a line at some point. Hey, you said now I will pay attention to this one. Somebody said a lipless person said, "Yeah, quit killing each other all the time. Gang culture is the problem." And you remember what happened to the last white boy that was talking about gang culture? That was Charlie Kirk. You see, they don't see that's what Charleston White does. That's why his last name is White, right? Well, you know, you don't behave like he says, I'm black. Only by default, if you really are. Because a lot of these are just bots that just get in there and talk, right? So look, and if let's just say that person is a black person, they just got up here and just proved my point of what I opened up to talk about the fundamental dumbness of black people, the ahistorical, a cultural nature of black people, that they don't understand anything outside of what they're programmed to think. So they're programmed to think this. They're programmed to think that, that's all we do. But go back to, like I said, what did I just lay out saying decade by decade by decade? Now, to prove that again, let me repeat this for the slow ones in the back of the class. To prove that black people are inherently violent, and we take each other out in these alarming numbers, and that's all we've known to do, that gang culture is the problem. Well, shouldn't that have been in us the entire time? So why didn't we see this in the 20s? Why didn't we see this in 30s? Why didn't we see this in the 40s? Why didn't we see this in the 50s, the 60s, and so on? Why didn't we see this gang culture that's so out of pocket? But you know who we have seen be violent nonstop? White people. If What do you think the Klan was? A gang, a pack of wild animals. That's why they would hunt in packs, because white males are the ultimate cowards, right? So that's what I said. They just say a bunch of stuff that it doesn't have to make sense. Insanity never makes sense. This is why you'll have these transgenders that think they're men or women, and they can't even tell you why. They just say it's because of how they feel. And that's the same thing with white supremacy, because they feel, or they have told themselves, that we are inherently violent, that we are criminals, while you have a president that's looting the country and the treasury right now. But they don't understand that. So the number two thing is, never try to make logic to these people. Never try to make logic or appeal to a racist white person's level of logic. They don't have it. Because the thing that you have to understand about their psychopathic nature is that they don't have a sense of morality. They don't have a sense of guilt. They don't have anything. So they don't feel. So it's pointless to talk, right? They don't care. Dookie Dunny could destroy the world. This is why racism is stupid. Because number one, they can't even tell you why it exists. because their inbred grandparents told them what their inbred grandparents told them, what their inbred grandparents told them, and it just goes back, 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 right? So it doesn't have to make sense. But see, this is what Charleston White does. See, he emboldens and he makes white people like this feel proud. Right? So when he walks around with a watermelon felon, and when he gets on these white podcasts and he's able to sit down, and he's able, notice that there's two different personalities. He's able to sit down and he says, yes, man, yes. When I was doing logs, and he talks with self-control, because he's always a master manipulator at work. Understand this. Understand exactly who you're dealing with. Right? So we have to do a better job. We have to do a better job of being vigilant, because we keep allowing the same type of people in our communities to be a leader. Are we starving for leadership so bad? See, the thing is, as the lipless people wild out in my comments. See, it's always the personality, right? It's the kind of like the personality worship. Because just like Charleston White appeals to dumb people, Donald Trump does the same thing. That's why he says, I love the poorly educated. I love the poorly educated because he's able to tell them whatever, just like their dumb grandparents. I love the poorly educated. Smart people don't like me. They don't like the things we talk about. Because just like them, they're looking for this hero. Notice white people have always made their heroes. Their genetics is shit, so they're not really much athletically. So they have to create heroes. They have to create the Italian stallion. They have to create the Italian stallion in their mind, right? They have to create now what they're trying to do is force Caitlin Clark on the league. And she is the perfect poster child of the bastard spoiled child of America. Because she's always bitching out on the sidelines. Because see, go back to what I was talking about decade by decade. And I'm gonna go back and read because if you're my people and you're with me, I'm not reading the comments because these folks are aping out in my comments. And how's that Chud the Builder thing working out for y'all? Because y'all swore he was gonna get out. How's that working out for him? hmm But speaking of chimping out or aping out, Caitlin Clark, who is another manufactured made media made hype, right? If you look at Olivia Miles, who plays for the Minnesota Lynx, Olivia Miles is running circles around anything Caitlin Clark has produced. But because she's media made hype, they're gonna do the same thing. Like once the machine gets behind you, it really doesn't matter. Because she's the same thing as LeBron James. They're media made greatness. Yeah, that's not to say they're not good players. I'm not a hater. I'm not gonna say they're not good players. But Caitlin Clark is a parking cone. She doesn't play defense. She just stands there. She's gonna get Stephanie White fired. And Stephanie White is a real good coach, but she's in a catch-22 situation. In a catch-22 situation, what do I do when I have this unruly bastard child on my team that's not coachable? Because she's the product of American white children. She's the poster child of American white children. Because notice the American white children never had manners. They would be the ones, fuck you, mom. You're such a bitch, I hate you. Their children have always been the bastard wretched of the earth. But gotta know that when you're dealing with them, everything is projection. Right? Everything is projection. Like, so they're gonna always tell you you are what they are. They have no control over their kids. That's why Connor can go to school and plan to how to take out the whole school because the lunch lady wouldn't give him corn. You won't give me any corn? I'll be right back. And because he comes from psychopathic bloodlines and psychopathic genetics, he doesn't feel anything. That was like, do you remember what they had? They called them the influenza team. Now this is how money works, right? This is how money works for rich white people. Hang on. This is how money works. They had an influenza team named Ethan Couch. And basically, what they said about Ethan was he had so much money, he didn't know right from wrong. Now, dig this. He goes out and he runs over people with his car, takes them out. And they create something and call him the influenza team. See, this is why they can never define criminality to me. This is why they can never say anything about behavior. because that's what Dookie Dunning and his whatever you call this. I don't know to say it was a presidential cabinet or I don't know what the hell this is. Whatever it is, it's trailer park. You know how they always say things are ghetto? Whatever it is, it's trailer. So we just gonna say this trailer park White House, right? So it's all about how they will define criminality for you. Now, mind you, they can say if you don't like America, move. They love to tell me to leave America. See, that's the thing. See, that's how they end up getting Metcalf because they always come in your spaces telling you where you can go. They always tell you where you can go, right? So they always gonna say, well, you know, if you don't like it, you can go. They always want to define what they call unpatriotic, right? But notice they will never have smoke for the January 6th rioters. We're not gonna do that insurrection shit. It's not an insurrection. They stormed the Capitol. We're storming the Capitol. And I'll never forget that one lipless white girl. I think her name was Elizabeth Knox. Not the Ashley Babbitt that met her fate. Pow! Ashley goes down. Not her. Not that one. She's the one. I think her name was Elizabeth, and she got pepper sprayed up there, storming the Capitol. It was alleged that they smeared feces on the Capitol walls. America, right? But that was okay because they're psychopathic by nature. But let it be a group of non-whites. Oh, these people are criminal. Notice they're experts on criminal and behavior then. But when it was their cousin in them, oh, they're fighting for their rights. This is why you can never allow them to determine what is criminality and what is right and wrong. They don't have a sense of morality. I keep telling you. But these are the people that Charleston White appeals to. He appeals to bigoted, racist white people and unintelligent black people or unaware of black people. Because if you really understand what time it is, there's no way Charleston White sounds smart to you. There's no way if you're really a black person and you think that's cool, he's walking around with a watermelon selling shirt on. Right? I was just reading that last comment. That seemed like a safe comment because they are wilding out. Uh, we lag behind severely. Absolutely. We lag behind severely because we have to understand what racism is. And it's not what these fools in the comments will tell you. Right? It's systematic power. There are zero ways that no matter what I say behind this microphone, no matter what I say behind this microphone, one more time for the slow ones in the back. No matter what I say behind this microphone, it cannot affect how white people eat, educate their children, or any of those things that's connected to the system. Unlike how when they control, that's why they're bitching out so much about the Democrats. The Democrats controlling the House because they can't implement their plan. They can't implement their plan of suffering. See, this is why you can't talk to them because these group because it's really a group of like different. There's the normal white people, and then there's those he'll have eyes white people. Those are the ones that don't understand anything and that they would let their own family members suffer. They would let their own nanny or nana or granny suffer if it meant the suffering of other people. Talk about spitting in the wind. See, why I don't care about people? Because I saw one white girl, one lipless white girl, talking about how she voted for Trump 3 times. And now she's just totally disgusted with her vote because he's a liar. Now she can see he's a liar. And she sees all of these things. But see, what happened to a lot of y'all, you either bought that you were American or you voted because you thought it meant suffering for people that didn't look like you. But see, what you didn't understand, this is about economics. This is classism right here. This is about the celebrities. This is about the have and the have-nots. So they can say all of this, not have jobs, food stamp stuff in my comments. I'm gonna tell you where the reality gonna hit on food stamps is when their people are suffering because they live in this delusion that they are that they float on clouds, right? They live in this delusion that they have bought by America that they are all thriving. That if they are on food stamps or assistance, it's because they're just having a hard time. This is how they rationalize stuff, right? That if they, being white people, are on food stamps, because notice they never want to talk about that. Notice they never want to talk about that because that makes them look in an unfavorable light. But when they will talk about it, it's because they're just having a hard time. Oh, Patrick, he got sick and my husband passed away and I had to go on that, right? But whenever it's a non-white person, it's always this derogatory reason, right? It's always a derogatory reason as to why black people or others, non-whites, receive assistance in any kind of way. See, the first thing they come in my comments saying, "Why aren't you at work?" Now here you are in my comments. Why aren't you working? But I told you racism is stupidity. So they don't have anything but a bunch of talking points. They don't have anything but a bunch of racist talking points. Yep. Right. It's always right. That's how white people think. It's always someone else's fault. Always the victim, right? That's white people's psyche. Thank you for admitting that, lipless person. See, they don't have anything else. If I'm live on a see, notice this. If I'm live on another one, they do the exact same thing. They don't want to talk about anything. They don't want to talk about anything else. That's all they have. And that's why they push the red button because of those idiotic beliefs. They don't care. They don't care that food prices are skyrocketing because in their minds they're successful. But their bank account indicates something else. Right. Don't they? They do project, don't they? Right? I told you, see. See, nothing says a loser, like I told them on my last live. Nothing says a loser that you dedicate time in my live to tell me something. But you're actually pushing me out. So thank you, loser. But because you're trying to appeal to people who have a psychopathic nature, and I'm telling this for my people, you never can reason with these people. These people are what you call zoophiles. Let's talk about being zoophiles. Hmm? It seems like when I remind y'all of that every live, y'all don't want to talk about that. You say it's always somebody else's fault. We're always playing the victim. Well, whose fault is it what y'all do to the horse? Or what y'all do to the dog? Hmm? Whose fault is it that you guys are culturally animal lovers? And I'm not talking about just having pets. I'm talking about real go to bed with the dog lover. See, they love to use narratives. See, if I use let me see if I have a book. Ooh, book. We didn't know black people had books. What is a black man doing with a book? I don't have it on my desk. Yes, I do. See, look at it. Look at that. Look at the universe. Ask and you shall receive. Right? This is how see you have to deal with facts. Not what your great great grandmama said, not what all of that. You have to deal with facts. See, a lot of y'all culturally degenerate behaviors can be traced back. And I'm gonna tell you a good place. I'm gonna give y'all a book. Yeah, black man with a book. It's called the Dictionary of Sex. And in this, you find all type of degenerate behaviors. And where does it stem back to? It stems back to Europeans. See, I don't have to get behind the microphone and make up and project and say a whole bunch of stuff. I can factually research and find out who you are. See, y'all are nothings. That's why you have to come in spaces to antagonize, like Charleston White. He is his last name. That's why y'all losers have to come into spaces to antagonize to make you feel like something. Your genetics is trash. You can't even be in the sun too long, vampire. And as I was talking about on my last live, I said that's why the movie Sinners was such a great movie. Sinners was such a great movie as to understanding that how we have to deal with these people, right? Because they can only come unless it's a social media space. They can only come into your space by what invitation, right? They can only come in by invitation. And notice what they wanted the entire time. They wanted Sammy's ability. But no, they don't stop there because in their psychopathic nature, right? They always feel like they're on this conquest. And it is the white man's burden to civilize these people. Now imagine this: the people that are culturally animal lovers saying they want to civilize you. Hmm? And he wanted to come, the colonizer and sinners, he wanted to come and civilize the people, basically. He wanted to take them away from their misery, right? But the main thing he was after was Sammy's vocals. Because Sammy's vocals were amazing, first of all. But that's even the difference in the singing ability. Now, sure, you'll have white people like Tia Marie. I think it was his name, Bobby Caldwell, that says "Do for Love." Michael McDonald. You have those anomalies that really have those soulful voices that really can sing. Not gonna hate. That really can sing. But for the most, they have no rhythm. Like this is why they're filled with hate. They are nothing. So they walk around constantly projecting, right? See, they still talking. They can't help themselves. Let's see. Let's see what this degenerate is saying. See, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if I get the flag for this word on that, but they're just slow. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say it like that because I got a great live going right now, right? And sometimes the message is more important than proving a point to somebody that will never get it, right? And they would always ask me the dumbest questions. Like I got asked a question last week. They said, "Well, do you hate white people? Do you hate all white people?" First of all, I don't know all white people to hate them. But since you asked me a stupid question, I hate you. See, I hate the ones that that behave like the ones behaving in my comments because they have no self control. I don't know all white people to hate them, right? See, we don't thrive off hate. But it is in my best interest to survive. It is in my best interest to understand the nature of animals. Another movie that didn't do so well for obvious reasons, but it was the American Society of the Magical Negro, and I talked about this a little bit in my last live. And I also like that movie. And to me, in my opinion, whose opinion? That movie didn't do well because of how it depicted white people yet again. And there was a scene with David Allen Greer, and he's talking to the dude in the movie, and he says, and I'm paraphrasing. He says, "What's the most dangerous animal on the planet?" And he has a picture of a great white shark, and I'm paraphrasing. He says, "White people," and he says, and what was so factual about what he said? He said because when white people get uncomfortable, they destroy things. And that is so factual, right? Because right now, Tucker Carlson, I think he's turned on Dookie. But a lot of these other ones, they started to bitch about the great replacement theory. The great replacement theory. Oh my God, the great replacement theory. I'm not going to have anywhere to ride my horse. White genetic annihilation. They always afraid of that. The great replacement theory. This is why when Charlie Kirk, see, that's my Charlie Kirk symbol on my other one. When he met his timely demise, they have to gather themselves in tizzies, and they say, "White men fight back. White men fight against who?" Because they have no peace within. They have no peace within, so they always have to create chaos. That's what they are. They always in a constant state of chaos, right? So, in that being in constant state of chaos, they always have to project this irrational fear that somebody's taking something away from them, that somebody's doing something to them, that somebody is posing an immediate threat to them. Now, here they colonized the whole world. They colonized the entire world, but they want you to think that they're in danger of losing something. But see, that comes from somewhere. That comes from their fearfulness of that they will be forgotten about or they will be wiped out. That's why Elon Musk, I think it was earlier this year, and I did have the screenshot. I don't know if I have it anymore, but he basically was agreeing with some fearful white boy that was saying that basically that if they don't come together, meaning them as white people, if they don't come together, that they will face extermination, basically. And if I have it, I will post it in my community. But if I have the thumbnail, I mean if the thumbnail, if I have that, I'll post it in my community. Right? See, what you have to do is always provide receipts. Don't be like them. Don't be like the Trump administration. See, this is the stupidity. Like I said, Charleston White sounds smart to dumb black people or dumb people. Donald Trump sounds smart to stupid people or dumb people. Because he can sit up here and he can tell people this is how you know they're stupid, just like they thought that they was gonna get those Trump phones. They thought, and I remember one white boy, he was mad. Ooh, he was mad. He was mad. He said he done bought all these goddamn Trump phones. He done convinced his son. Not only was he stupid, but he convinced his son to be stupid too. Because, like I said, that's how it works. Influence. He convinced his son to believe in Dookie and buy these phones that they never got. He said, "I want my goddamn phone." He was having a whole goddamn meltdown in the car. Right? But it's the ability to sell you something with no proof. Just like they were saying all this fraud in Minnesota, and that's what they use, fraud. All this fraud is taking place in the White House, right? All of this fraud. And what happened was when he was having a meltdown, him being Trump, he was just having a meltdown last week on a a newswoman who was a reporter. That's what she was, and she was just reporting, and he was trying to do this thing that he does is say that talk about the election and talk about all this fraud and talk about all how the Democrats are corrupt. And no, I'm not a Democrat, so y'all don't get in here asking that stupid question, right? And how the Democrats are corrupt. And she said, "But Mr. President, you have yet to provide any proof." He said, "All I have to do is look at it." uh, Thoughts on Carmelo Anthony case? I think if you would have been in here earlier, um, I think it was bull. I think the fix was in. I think America showed what America did, right? Because there's a white guy that has a receipt and they don't believe him, right? White people that don't believe him. And there was a cheerleader that said that she had been complaining about the Metcalf twins' behavior to other coaches and how just obnoxious they were, and basically how they were just their behavior was out of pocket but always overlooked, right? And I feel like the fix was in, right? Because it's not about what they really can prove, but it's about what America makes you feel about what they just proved to you. So it's all about narratives. And let's flip this around because they kept saying, "Well, he didn't deserve that. Why didn't Carmelo just get up and walk away?" Okay, well okay, well we've already entertained that notion as black people, right? Why didn't he get up and walk away? Why did they have to walk over to him? He was sitting down minding his business. He wasn't being loud. He wasn't causing trouble. Why did they have to walk up to him? See, that's how they get you. They only make you focus on one thing, and that becomes the inflated narrative, and the inflated narrative, and the inflated narrative. And like I always say, images are advertisements for the mind. So what they want to impress upon your mind is the aggressive black young man that poked up the innocent white boy. Good God Almighty. See, it's never about you looking at both sides. It's about what make you look at what they want you to look at. Now, question: what do you think about Timothy Hudson? What do you think? I think he's 16 years old. He's either 15 or 16. What do you think about Timothy Hudson? And have you heard about the Timothy Hudson case? Anybody anybody know who Timothy Hudson is? Yes, no? Okay, well I will explain. They're always just gonna say the same thing. And then they act like they're doing me favors. I gave you 10 minutes. I don't need your little stinking 10 minutes. I appreciate my people. I appreciate the sincere people that come in here to listen. But that's the thing of their nature. That's right. Free Carmelo. Right? But see, that's the thing. They always think that they're doing you a favor. Just like Dookie Dunny, when he storms out of the thing, he says, "I came here," paraphrasing again, "I came here to do this interview." They always feel like they're doing you a favor. But how come nobody is talking about if white America is so upset about the loss of white lives? Because see, guess what? We can ask them the same thing that they ask us. And what's that? Is that You know how they love them and tap dancing Negroes love to say, why is it that we only get upset when it's white people that take us out or commit crimes against us? You know how they love to throw that in there and ask us why don't we get upset about basically black on black violence, right? Or black on black crime. They love to ask that question, right? But why are so many white people calm or silent to Timothy Hudson? And Timothy Hudson is a 15 or 16-year-old young man that unalived or took out his stepsister after raping her. Yeah, he R-worded his stepsister and took her life on a cruise ship. And now I don't have this I could be wrong about this update. I mean, I could be wrong about this. Now I heard that the judge as soon as yesterday, I heard that the judge finally arrested him. Now I don't know that to be factual. One thing about me, I would never intentionally put something out that's not factual. So I don't know. But the point of that, they wouldn't even arrest him in the beginning because they said that he wasn't a threat to society or he wasn't a danger to society, right? So ask white people because remember how vicious they were when it came to Carmelo Anthony, right? I'm just reading some of the comments. I kind of know what you're saying, but I don't know what you're saying on that last one, right? But like somebody said, facts, but they only see color, not solution, right? So what they will do, they will inflate. And what's the dude? Jake Lang. I wonder if he's still behind bars. I guess who else ain't going nowhere? Chud the Builder. um, yeah. But Jake Lang stood outside that courthouse and said that Carmelo Anthony should be hanging from a tree. But I wonder what he thinks about Timothy Hudson. See, they are nothing without their narratives. They are nothing without their ability to hate something, specifically black people, right? So we have to get to the point where we're able to see us in the same light. That's why this whole gender war is getting on my nerves. Okay, so you said okay, and see, anytime y'all say that, I put that with a grain of salt. Somebody says, as a 53-year-old black man, I agree with Jake Lang. You don't get to murder people. Okay, so what about Timothy Hudson? Where should Timothy Hudson be? Oh, and if you are a black man, you're out your mind, but you're probably just a bot, right? Okay, since like I said, since y'all can draw the line in the sand with that, I brought up Ethan Couch earlier, a young white boy who they called the influenza team that used his car to take out a few white people. What should happen to him? See, y'all quick to draw the line, like somebody said. Y'all don't see because they're not solution oriented, and they always, you know what? And they, if put an asterisk by it though, for the black people that use that and say, "I'm a black man and I agree," as if because you are black and you're ass sucking, that means something to the system. That just means you're dumb enough to go along with it. Because when they really clamp down and go back to who they are originally, you're not going to be included. See, that's Stephen A. problem. Stephen A. Smith don't want to understand that. Okay, so that's okay. So that sounds like that sounds like a lot of people. You say you don't get to do that and live. Y'all not telling me what should be the thing with Timothy Hudson. What should be the consequence for Timothy Hudson? Don't keep telling me Carmelo is serving time. And if that ain't good enough for you, then suck it. What should be the stipulation and penalty for Timothy Hudson, who took his stepsister's life on a cruise ship after SA-ing her? What should be his penalty? Don't keep skipping over and just want to talk about Carmelo Anthony. See, that's when y'all are disingenuous and full of shit. Ignorance is killing America. By ignorance, do you mean white supremacy? Would ignorance be white supremacy? Tanner? No, no. See. Here's the thing. You say tell you the details on that. No, go look it up. No, see what I want you to do. You say okay, so you say you don't get to do that to people. You don't get to take people out, right? So what about in the context of war when they hit an innocent village that did nothing to nobody? Okay, well, so what should be the penalty for that? Because you just said you don't get to do that to people, right? So don't draw a line. So when they unfairly target and take out innocent people in the name of WAR, what should be the penalty for that? See? Nope, nope. I'm not. Nope. See, that's what you. I knew you was gonna answer with a BS thing. You said I'm comparing apples to Chevrolets. I thought you didn't get to take people out and live. Oh, so now I thought innocent lives were innocent lives. I'm not talking about in the context of battling both sides of WAR. I'm talking about when you target an innocent village. Okay, well let's move away from that since y'all gonna be disingenuous. See, this is why I don't have conversations with white supremacists or white people or people that subscribe to white supremacist ideology. Because being honest is not in you. Because honesty shatters your logic. Reality shatters your logic, right? Why would I why would I be in a box though, Tanner? See, even that statement, this dude can't think out the box. Why am I in a box? You see how y'all just regurgitate stuff? Nonsensical. If I'm in a box, I'm confined to my mindset, right? See, now you want to move away. See, when I'm talking about WAR and taking out innocent people, now you say I'm comparing apples to something else. Because you want to make violent. I told y'all. See, you see that they proved my point. I said that they don't care about crime. They only want to control how you look at it. They only want to control the image of who's criminal in their minds, right? Okay, so let me ask y'all a question since y'all so honest and moral on my live. For the January 6th rioters that assaulted those police officers, I think we can all agree that they assaulted those police officers, right? Should they have been pardoned? Yes or no? Don't give me a whole soliloquy of what you think, right? Tanner, ain't nobody talking to you, Tanner. You already proved you disingenuous. So once I see who you are, number one, I'm gonna go back to just ignoring y'all comments. But answer that question, since y'all are so moral and y'all are so American, should January 6 rioters been pardoned after what they did to American officers? Should they have been pardoned? I think I got one pit person. Some person, one person was honest. Danny was honest and said no. You see what I'm saying? Now look at this. See, this is what I mean. This is the ignorant of black of just racism. I'm gonna read this one because this is a shameful one. Should BLM be in prison for the destruction that they caused to our beautiful nation? See how they move the goalposts? This is why. I'm telling you, they are proving my point of psychopathic nature. Because Donald Trump can destroy the White House and they don't care. You know why they don't care? Because he has the complexion for protection. Shit, they was crying about Obama putting a basketball goal in there. Oh, he can't play. He's gonna have the fucking Harlem Globetrotters in. But here this guy is can build a ballroom so they can dance off beat. Cause you know they not gonna dance on beat. Let's not even sit up here and pretend. Right? And now they move. I ask about should January 6th rioters be pardoned? He moved all the way and started talking about something about BLM. BLM never stormed the Capitol and beat the hell out of police officers. You can't make them think. I don't care what you tell me about taking a horse to water. Somebody else is somebody else is somebody said absolutely. You see, and your answer is your answer, right? Somebody said no, they shouldn't have been pardoned. They should have had their rights respected to start with. What rights? You see what I'm saying? See, and but look though, you prove my point of that movie, The American Society of the Magical Negro. Because when white people are upset and don't get their way, they January 6th the place. And they storm the Capitol and they really think that this is a real goddamn movie. No proof that J6ers did any overthrowing. Oh man, you see them on camera. Ashley Babbitt lost her life, and you see. Oh man, you can't take these people serious. You cannot take these people serious. I am not gonna read this. That's enough of reading out comments. You cannot take these people serious. You can see it on camera and they still say it's not that. I told you they want to control crime. Oh, see, they gonna keep talking about BLM riots. Cause they can never face themselves honestly. That's all they're gonna do. They're gonna give you disingenuous answers. They're gonna flat out just lie and deny. Oh man, y'all ought to be ashamed of yourself. But see, in order for y'all to be ashamed, y'all would have to feel something. So you can't feel shame. I told you I'm not talking to you, Tanner. Because what you want me to do, Tanner, okay, Tanner, like somebody else said, you want me to compare apples to Chevrolet. What you gonna talk about? Riots and burning up stuff? Hell, they do that when they win the Stanley Cup. They do that when cities win the NBA finals. So looting and rioting is looting and rioting. So y'all proving my point. That when y'all loot and riot, it's because nobody respected your rights. I told you, you always gonna give a disclaimer or a reason why y'all can act violent and it's okay. You know why you feel that way? Because it's always been in your nature. See, it's watermelons and apples. You see, and that no originality. That's why y'all see y'all so lame. Y'all don't even have no originality. You all y'all do is say the same shit. I told you the same shit your great 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 grandparents told you. As if y'all don't eat watermelon. Oh man, y'all are so stupid. Because you pretend you don't eat watermelon because of the stereotype that they have given us. So you feel comfortable coming in my live talking about water. Lord have mercy. And somehow, to my black people that's on here, they feel that they are the civilized people. They sitting in my live the whole time telling me, complaining. This is what they do. They sit in your space and tell you how they don't like to be in your space. When all they can do is do what? Same thing they kept saying Carmelo can do. Get up and what? But they will never do that because antagonizing is their superpower. Being hateful is their superpower. Colonizing and coming into spaces that they're not wanted is their superpower. No originality. Yeah, you know what? I gotta give y'all credit because I'm surprised y'all spell as well as y'all do. Oh man, because let them tell it. They are the smartest. They are the smartest. They are the most wealthy. They don't need help. They're the most independent. And then whenever we bring up the stats of white people being on benefits more than anything, they never want to talk about that. What they're gonna do? Pivot over to something else. I'm almost about to get out of here on you losers. It's starting to smell. It's too much mayonnaise in the room. Oh man, Tanner, you still here? I know you, white Tanner. Because that's what you desire. You desire to get a little bit more tanner than you were last summer. Uh, that's what your parents named you because they couldn't get darker. So you were their failed dream, and you living up to it because you are surely a failure, Tanner. Oh man, how many felonies do y'all have? You know, talk about it. Y'all vote for a felon, man. Y'all are out of pocket. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Y'all be up here trying to deflect and talk about criminality. And the biggest example in the White House is a felon. You cannot make it make sense. Oh, Tanner, please. Tanner's a loser. There's nothing else to talk about with Tanner. Appreciate that, black man. My people in here. It's just the colonization of these sun dodgers. And like I said, what bothers them is when they don't when they see a black man that don't behave like Stephen A. Smith. So, Stephen A. Smith is okay to them because he plays and dances to their offbeat. Trump's the best president. Based on what? Okay, so when y'all tell me he's the best president, what is this based on? Trump is. Did you say Trump is God, Tanner? See, now you just said Trump is God. You said OS. Oh yeah, that's what you're saying. Trump is God, and now he's repeating it. Trump is God. I told you a loser, Tanner, and you just proved me right. You're proving me that you failed your family, and you just a loser. Y'all be trying y'all best to throw these little insults. Trump is a jigaboo. That's what Trump is. Y'all keep hyping him up. He a jigaboo with swollen ankles. That's what he is. That can't stay awake. Shit, if he ain't, let me tell you something. If he only got a few demeanors. If he ain't asleep, he up all night. He's somewhere dick watching because he couldn't stop. He couldn't stop going on and on about Arnold Palmer's tallywhacker. So he either always angry, he either sleep or wandering off somewhere like he got dementia. Like it's not a lot of substance there, right? No, Trump is the orangest white guy. he, said, he said, "Y'all are not pink. What color are you, Tanner? Tanner, you look like you might be. You remember the movie Powder with that real pasty? He kind of looked like that right there. That's probably you. That's probably you. What about Joe Biden? Yes, I told y'all. Y'all got Biden derangement syndrome. What about Joe Biden? What about it? What about it? At least he wasn't falling asleep. This fool that fell asleep. Who fell asleep? Hey man, he fell asleep at the basketball game. He. Come on now. Oh man, I'm about to get out. I'm about to get out of here. I'll probably be back live later, but I say this to say, Charleston White sounds smart to dumb people. Donald Trump sounds smart to dumb people like Tanner, and it just shows you how a terrible mind is a good thing to waste. Like not a lot of people are intelligent, right? We know, Tanner. We know. You just really showing that you inbred right now, Tanner. So, but yeah, that's about my time because Tanner's stanking up the place now. So, I gotta let the I gotta let the camera air out because Tanner done stuck it up in here. No, no, Buster, Tanner, fuck it up for everybody. But I'll be back later, man. Yeah, I know you're corny as Tanner. But anyway, I'm out of here.